So next is, we're gonna bring this meeting to order. It's a meeting of, the planning board on this 24th of May, 2023. This meeting will be held live as well as by Zoom. If the Zoom should go down, we'll make every effort to, fix it, bring it back. But in the event that that's not possible, the meeting will nevertheless continue. And at this point, we're going to open to public input, and which shall be limited to statements from the public which relate to issues within the jurisdiction of the planning board, but that are not currently the subject of a pending public hearing before the board, and public comment on any public hearings should only be heard during those public hearings for a given property. Is there anyone who wants to speak in the public hearing?
Good evening. My name is Carrie Conway. I live at 3 Moore Street. I did send an email to the board this afternoon. I know it was late. I'm just going to read my email. A group of my neighbors attended the Conservation Commission committee meeting last night in reference to the residents at 35 Brickhill Road. I live right next to 35 Brickhill Road. Our neighbor, Johnny Ramos, the owner of 35 Brickhill Road, is in violation of disturbing the wetlands by taking down 50-plus trees and bringing in dirty fill to the property. So conservation's dealing with that piece. We're here tonight to discuss other concerns with 35 Brickhill Road. Our biggest concern is that the address is not zoned for business. However, Johnny and his wife are running 2 businesses out of the property since they've purchased the home in August of 2020. One business is his business, which is a landscaping construction business, and the other is a cleaning business. The landscaping business has approximately 3 to 5 trucks parked during the day and night, as well as 1 trailer and a dump truck. Both businesses have employees parking at 35 Brickhill Road during the day. And J&J Building Maintenance Incorporated, which is Johnny's business, lists 35 Brickhill Road as a property address. The second concern is that the homeowner built a 1-car freestanding garage in the back of the property. We do not believe a permit was pulled for this garage. This garage also holds all the materials and things for his business. There's also a carport with various landscaping machinery that is on the back of the property, some of which may be on my property. So we wanted to bring this forward to the board.
Okay, why are you bringing this to us?
We, at Conservation Commission last night, we were told to, well, we're not really sure who to bring all this to.
To the purview of the building inspector, am I not correct?
Or zoning.
You are correct.
Yes.
It's the building inspector.
You've emailed Jose Negro on the building.
I have not on
Someone
tonight.
has, right,
Multiple times,
yeah.
yes. I saw numerous neighbors.
I would continue to send emails.
We're just trying to hit as many people as we can. because it
Send,
started in
contact me
August
after
2020, and
this meeting. I ran into a similar situation with my next door neighbor,
Okay.
and I can tell you what I had to go through.
Thanks, Anita.
About 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that an issue to bring to the select board if they have public concerns?
They certainly can. I know I watched the Concom meeting last night.
Yeah.
This item was discussed at the Wednesday departmental meeting. There'll be a special departmental meeting called probably next week for this particular issue. But it's the building commissioner who initiates zoning enforcement.
Okay.
And that's Jose.
Correct.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Sorry you're going
Thank
through
you.
that.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the input session? Anyone on Zoom?
No.
All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to review and ratify the
May I make a
various-
suggestion that we maybe table the review and ratification of the decisions and,
Till the end?
yeah.
That's fine.
I agree with
That's a
that.
great idea.
So we need to make a motion to take it out of order? or
Yeah,
no?
you can do that, sure. I don't know if
Do
it's
we have to?
required or not, but
Oh, if it's
you
not
can if
required,
you
then
want
let's
to.
go.
It's okay. Take it out of.
I didn't know if we have to.
So is someone going to make that motion?
Sure,
I
make
think
a
you can
motion.
just wave a
I'll make it.
wand.
What's
Somebody
the,
second it?
Somebody second it?
What's
I second that.
The motion is to table these ratification and, well,
Well, to take, I think the motion would be to take 11 School Street out of order.
No, he mentioned the administrative reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, the next thing up after the administrative reviews is,
School Street is a new public hearing that's opening up.
right.
You have to
well,
take that next. is what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying.
to take that out of order.
take that
see it?
next.
That's fine.
Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, now we're gonna open a new public hearing pertaining to 11 School Street. Elise Louiselle Alleviate Med Spa for the operation of approximately 16,000 square foot medical spa, including services but not limited to injections, collagen infusions, laser, aesthetic services, wellness services within an existing 26,000 square foot existing building. The site is located in the RB Residential District and consists of approximately 13.77 acres as shown on Assessor's Map 35, Block 142, Lot 5. The applicant requests a special permit per section 195-8.c for the change from one pre-existing non-conforming use to another pre-existing non-conforming use and/or any other zoning relief that is deemed necessary. Do we have people to present to us?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Philip Tebow from Philip Tebow Architect at 1168 Lakeview Ave in Drake, Massachusetts. I am the architect on the project. This is the reuse of an existing building at 11 School Street, a three-story building. Each floor having approximately 8,000 square feet. Elevate Med Spa will be occupying the second and third floor, primarily the third floor in this particular phase. There is minimal reconstruction that's going to be happening within that space, some minor wall demolition to open up some of the spaces, some carpeting, a lot of cosmetic updating if you want, to bring the building into the spaces in today's style. The building was last renovated in 2010 by P&S Construction for their construction offices. I believe they had downsized and it was a real estate agent there for a short while. Ms. Loisel has purchased the building and wishes to move her facilities, Elevate Med Spa, from Courthouse Lane, I believe, to this location. I believe you're planning on maintaining Courthouse Lane as an additional space. The existing parking lot is going to remain as is. There's no work planned there. There are 52 parking spaces, which should be sufficient for the uses of the building. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Loisel to explain the operations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us tonight. So I currently own and operate a med spa on Courthouse Lane in Drum Hill, and when we purchased this building, the idea is to expand services and continue to be able to offer the current service offerings that we have. So as Phil said, it's a lot of just cosmetic upgrades. It's already set up as office space, which we're turning into the treatment rooms. We're frosting some glass for privacy. My brand colors are black, gold, and white, so we're going to update all of that, make sure, like he said, it's 2023 and it's on brand. And I already submitted all the things that we want to do on site, and I appreciate your input if you have any questions.
If I may add, Ms. Loisel did host an open house for the neighborhood last week. It was attended by about a dozen residents in the neighborhood, and from what we can tell, it was well received.
Mm-hmm. And the building you said has been vacant for how long?
It hasn't been completely vacant. The P&S construction company that occupied it previously is now on the first floor, and the two other floors, the second and third floor, have been vacant since about August, I think.
Okay.
But it's still in great condition. We're making sure everything is running the heat, the lights, the electricity, everything.
Um, So, I don't know, I guess we are open for other, you want to do the letters?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I can do the letters, and then we could at least go around 11 School Street. Here we go. Yes, I have a selection of letters here. Okay, they're suggesting several requirements and requests. On sewer, required action, the applicant should analyze sewage flows using Title V and proposed conditions to determine required sewer allocation.
Yes.
I presume you're in process.
Yes, we are.
Don't they already have sewer there?
Yeah, I imagine they do.
But as a spa, they're gonna have people bathing, they're gonna have tubs.
So we're a medical spa, so we do a lot of medical injectable treatments, lasers, radiofrequency microneedling, vitamin injections. We have IV infusions. So we're also expanding services to have more traditional spa services, but we don't anticipate a major increase in sewage usage and water usage, but we will be adding a couple of showers. And we'll have the float tank too, but that is filled once and then filtered through, so it's not a lot of sewage usage.
Okay. So an analysis is called for here, I presume you will.
Yes,
Okay.
we're already working on it. Phil.
Stormwater, they request records for the last 2 years of stormwater catch basin cleaning. Include a narrative to further discuss low-impact development and confirm there are no changes in impervious area. You said,
No changes.
and the rest is general conditions. That's from DPW. Okay, this next one is from the Chelmsford Center Water District. The Chelmsford Center Water District has concerns with the proposed construction remodel of a commercial unit at this site. The representative for the project should contact Chelmsford Water District. Once the contractor has met with us, reviewed and accepted our requirements, we will forward signed approval letter to you, meaning to this board. From the Board of Health. This letter is regarding 11 School Street, Elevate Med Spa. This business would need to meet the Town of Chelmsford General Provisions, Chapter 201, Board of Health, Article 16, Rules and Regulations for body art establishments and practitioners' regulations. Elevate Med Spa would be required to submit a plan review for the body art establishment. The business would also need to apply for body art establishment permit. The body art practitioners would each need to apply to acquire a practitioner's permit. These permits would need to be renewed annually through the application process.
Correct. So we've already spoken to the ladies over at the Board of Health and made sure that we're going to be compliant. We're not opening a tattoo parlor. What we're doing is permanent makeup, so eyebrow tattoos, and lip blushing, we call it, and
Okay.
that's kind of thing.
All right, the portion of the business, new juice and smoothie bar, would need to meet the requirements of 105 CMR 590 Mass State Food Code and meet the Town of Chelmsford Chapter 201 Board of Health Article 9 Food Service and Retail Food Establishment Regulations, which require an exterior grease trap. Additionally, Elevate Med Spa would need to meet the Town of Chelmsford General Provisions, Chapter 201 Board of Health Article 5 Commercial Refuse Dumpster Collection Licensing and Operation Regulation, and would need to apply for an on-site dumpster permit. This permit would need to be renewed annually through the application process. And that's from Donna Greenwood at the Board of Health. Next is Town Engine, let's see, this is two from Okay, this is from the Development Department, and there is a letter attached from Jose, our Building Commissioner. Dear Sir, Madam, please be advised that your proposed Elevate Med Spa business is not allowed in the RB district under the table of use. Should you feel that a pre-existing non-conforming business already was established there previously, feel free to apply for a special permit, which obviously you have done.
That's why we're here.
From, let's see. That's already been covered. Police, no comment. And Fire Prevention Office, no comment.
Did we want to go around the board to see if we have any?
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Paul?
No comment.
I have no questions at this time.
The only question I had, because I drove by it today, was in one of the parking lots, there was a big, like, tractor-trailer
Container.
container.
Yeah, so currently that's just for the tenant on the first floor, and it should be removed within a couple weeks, hopefully.
Okay, that's all I had.
The only issue I have is just when it gets to the dumpster pickup. I mean, this is a densely populated residential area. That pickup would be during normal business hours of 9 to 5,
So.
not at 4 in the morning.
Yes, and we already have dumpster services contracted with Republic Services. That was
That are there now?
pre-existing there. Yeah, there's 2 dumpsters on site already, and it hasn't been an issue.
Okay, thank you.
You said in your narrative somewhere that you're planning on maybe having some paths by the brook, and that public townspeople would be able to use those?
Yeah, that's the plan. So the property itself, we own 13 acres, and including is the pond, the waterfall that goes down into Stony Brook. It's really beautiful if you haven't been by it in a while. And so we anticipate, not currently, but in the future, being able to talk to the Conservation Commission and see if we can develop a walking path where people can walk around the pond and really utilize the space for the public and make Chelmsford more of a destination for everyone to come and have their services on site, and also just go for a peaceful walk in between treatments, or if they just want to come by.
And would you envision like making a donation of that to the town as green space or open space, or?
We
would it-
definitely could consider that, absolutely.
Me, okay. No particular question at this point, but I will be interested in understanding as this hearing goes along, what we can expect in terms of change in traffic and people coming and going from the premises. It'd be a comparison between the proposed use and the existing use.
So I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the application package that we submitted, but I broke down by appointment type, how
Yeah.
many appointments per day that we're gonna see. Everything will be by appointment, so we don't anticipate a very large introduction of traffic issues.
And what are the hours of operation? you plan?
They're gonna be 9 to 6, Monday through Saturday, maybe Sunday too. We'll see what the interest is in that. That's
I think
currently
you said
what my
9 to
schedule.
3 for Saturday and Sunday.
Or 9 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday, sorry.
Yeah,
And 9
so,
to 6
yeah,
Monday
within the
through Friday.
application, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday, 9 to 3 p.m., and then Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Chris?
Just had a couple of questions. You mentioned that you're going to be on the second and third floor. The construction company will remain on the first floor?
Yep, they're currently in a lease with us.
Okay. And all of the changes and the construction will be on the inside, no outside work at all?
No, nothing.
Okay. And then I'm assuming there'll be some type of medical waste?
So we are already in contract with Sharps companies to pick up Sharps disposal.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine. There's not major medical waste, it's just needles and Sharps.
okay. No other questions?
So all the things that you use for the treatments are basically disposable.
Yes. We pride ourselves on sterility and safety. Patient safety is number
So there's
one.
not like centrifuging things or anything
No,
like
we
that?
don't do any blood work on site.
Got it.
Even still, that would be single use only.
Yeah. All right, is there anyone, are we ready for public hearing? I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to come to speak in support or otherwise for this project? Is there anyone on the Zoom?
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay,
Okay,
that was quick.
that was quick. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Well,
No, you could
may I
continue.
suggest before we do that,
Thank you.
are there additional, are there additional questions that need to be answered before we can proceed?
Yeah,
In
I
which
think-
case, it might be a good idea to continue the public
Okay.
hearing.
Yeah, I
Well,
think the
right,
sewer
definitely,
department.
yeah.
Yeah, we need the sewer info and,
And the stormwater is requesting the old records.
Yeah.
And then the water has concerns that we don't know what they are yet.
right.
So there's
Kind of vague.
Make a motion to continue.
there's some open questions.
second.
So we will have a motion to
Over there.
second?
No.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
June,
Okay,
June
and figure out
14th.
if next meeting is a good time or it's feasible to get all that information gathered by then.
you understand what the board's asking?
Do you think you'll be ready for the 14th?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sooner.
Can you meet with these other departments, like the water department, prior to this?
Tomorrow, sure.
And get a letter from them?
Chomping at the bit. Okey dokey.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much.
See you on the 14th.
All right. So now we will move to the continued public hearing for 200 Turnpike Road, CJ Martell Crane and Tree Removal for the construction of a new 3,500 square foot contractor's garage and outdoor contractor's yard with associated site improvements. The site is located in the IA Limited Industrial Zoning District and consists of approximately 1.62 acres, as shown on Assessor's Map 106, Block 382, Lot 6. The applicant requests approval for a special permit per 195-5 Use Regulations E.5A for an outdoor contractor's yard and site plan review per 195-104 and any other relief deemed necessary. So I see that we have a revision of the site plan.
All right. Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Casey Ferrer with Howard Stein Hudson. We were here last month presenting the property off Turnpike Road. It's map 106, block 328, lot 6. We're seeking a site plan and special permit for a proposed contractor's yard. Just a little bit of a overview to recapture the site. It's at the corner of Mill Road and Turnpike. The site totals 1.63 acres and it's zoned in the limited industrial, the IA district. And we are not utilizing any overlay districts. We are simply permitting under the base level zoning. Again, Mill Road is a scenic road. However, no trees or stone walls are proposed to be removed. So we don't have to file any kind of removal permits with the scenic road. Last meeting, we were sent away with a few things to revise, mostly to do with the engineering letter that we received. We have since changed and coordinated closely with the engineering department. Some of the changes that we highlighted would be we added the dumpster pad that was missing from the first submittal. It is now in the center of the back lot. We added the oil separator to connect to the interior trench drain inside the building. This connects to the oil separator, and then we'll go out to the sanitary sewer service. With the engineering department, some of their concerns were regarding the drainage on site. We've worked closely with them to alleviate all of their concerns, and they've actually issued a clean letter as of yesterday. Some of these changes that we made, well, we initially went out and performed more soil testing within the existing drainage basin that's at the front of the site, the basin that's right along Mill Road. What engineering was hoping was that we would find a way to get infiltration within that basin to add to the infiltration that we're proposing on site. Unfortunately, the soil testing showed that the existing basin is just above the seasonal high groundwater, and infiltration would not be an option because it doesn't meet the minimum separation that Massachusetts requires. So in order to try and help alleviate further concerns, we modified what the outlet control structure does in order to reduce flow and the timing. More so, we wanted to offset the timing so not everything left the site when other flow gets to the endpoint, which is the wetland down on Vincent that engineering was concerned about. So again, we responded to all the engineering comments, and we got a clean letter. One of the items that the board wanted to discuss was the sight lines coming off of Turnpike Road. So we did meet with Tony from engineering, and we also contacted the police department. Police department sent a letter that they did not have any concerns with the sightlines, and as we kind of discussed at the last meeting, the engineering department, we said the sightlines would be helped if we could maintain the landscaping at the corner, right? Because I know some of the comments were that grass overgrows and kind of impedes the guardrail and affects the sightline. We added the landscaping to our operation and maintenance plan so that he is required to maintain all of the landscaping on the site, so that Tony was okay with that helping the sightline issue. And I know another concern that the board had was how does the elevation view shed work out if you're standing on Mill Road? I created today a kind of a view shed exhibit that helps show how the elevations work across the site if you were standing on Mill Road. We have a plan view on the top of the plan and then an associated elevation view. And what you'll see is that Turnpike Road is at elevation 205, where the top of the building is just at 206. This is also set back about 160 feet from where the corner is. So there's not going to be any interference in the sight lines from when you're at the corner trying to take a left onto Mill Road, because that building is set back into the site from that corner. And then you'll see on the elevation view that the grade just works its way down towards the right, which is when you'll hit the site driveway entrance, which is much lower in the 170s as compared to the 205 up at Turnpike. And then also at the top of the site, I've also showed where the property of 200 Turnpike lies, and that's up in the 220s down to 210. So with that, I know last meeting we did walk through, and also it's included in the report, but the special permit criteria for the site and the application. So I know we did it last meeting, but if you would like to, we could re-walk through it and kind of refresh and re-jog. But other than that, that kind of recaps our changes, and we're open to discussion.
I wouldn't mind a little redundancy, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Recapping.
Yeah, no, we could certainly go through that. Evan, can you bring up that part of the report?
Should be able to.
Just so we can follow along. Oh, and again, Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning. It's usually pretty close. It's pretty close to the front of the previous report, the original submission. Supplemental data report, yep. And then it's essentially right after our existing and proposed conditions narrative. We walk through zoning. Just so you can follow along. This is usually where we have it in our supplemental data reports, and this is usually the criteria as how we kind of spell it out. Yep.
I'm just struggling here to
Yep,
go back
you're
to the
there.
mouse. Okay.
So essentially, we can certainly talk about these, and I'd like to go to the board too, and just be able to just kind of read off and kind of deliberate a little bit more on what I've said here. But to put the project in context, the project itself is in an IA zone, so it's in the industrial district. Everything behind us and to the east of us and in that area constitutes the many hundreds of acres of IA zoning. Goes all the way down Turnpike Road. I think some of you will remember Turnpike Road splits. It's residential B on one side and IA on the other side. Same thing with Mill until you hit Zoll. It's residential on one side, industrial on the other side. Industrial uses that are allowed by right include things like a regular contractor's yard, but not an outdoor contractor's yard, meaning the fact that we're storing the equipment outside is what requires us to have the special permit. And that is the only special permit we're requesting. So we meet all the dimensional criteria on this site. We're actually 60 feet off Mill instead of 40. We're actually 49 off of Turnpike rather than 40, substantially lower than the FAR. We're actually less pavement, not less impervious, but less pavement than exists there on the existing site with the 3,500 square foot building. And the scope and scale specifically of the building that's been chosen for this site is very much in keeping with floor areas without the neighborhood. 3,500 square feet is basically, if you click on a lot of the houses in this neighborhood, you have more than 3,500 square feet of floor area for each of those lots. So with that, we're looking at 6 different criteria. Do you have it up now? Can I stand over there just so I didn't memorize it, but I wrote it. So regarding the social, economic, community needs, which are served by the proposal, this lot has historically been underutilized. I think I don't even remember when the last time it was used, what it looked like when it was first paved. It was built in the 80s when 200 Turnpike, the building at the top of the hill, was built. My guess is they built it based on possibly a prospective tenant at that time, certainly based on the zoning bylaws, as far as how much parking based on square footage you would have needed, or that the zoning required back in the 80s. With that, the parking lot has been empty for as long as I can remember, and or some of the owner's equipment has been stored there at times. It's been fenced and gated so that people don't dump on the site and park on the site and get into trouble, essentially, on the site. For quite some time. So the site itself has been not maintained, essentially. I did go out there and get to walk down those really fun steep stairs at one point in time from the upper lot to the lower lot. I wouldn't suggest that to anyone. It's about a 25-foot drop. So the site itself, sitting in the Industrial A district on this corner, doesn't provide any real social benefit, right? It's basically a defunct parking lot that's been essentially closed off. There's no sidewalks, there's no maintained landscaping, and it basically takes care of the drainage from the upper lot, which also is not maintained. As far as the economic needs, certainly the town economics would benefit from having something be on this site, as it now sits as a separate lot, to have something developed, to have a local business person establish their business in the town of Chelmsford. And the community needs that are served by the proposal. This is an industrial. What are the community needs of the industrial zoned lot within an area that encompasses also a residential neighborhood next to it? Well, the community needs are that, if you look at the community certainly as a whole, it doesn't say neighborhood, it says community. The community has said that this is an industrially zoned piece. There are a significant amount of different uses that could be for this. I've looked at a significant amount of uses for this lot in the many years that it's been sitting on the market and are owned by the property owner at 200 Turnpike. And it will be built on. The only reason that we need a special permit tonight is because of the outside contractor's yard use. We could do industrial, light industrial, indoor contractor's yard, office. People have asked me about residential. People have asked me about religious uses. There's been a significant amount of uses, and this is where this is just under 2 acres, lies at the intersection of Mill and Turnpike. This is a very small user. It's a very, the size and the scope and the scale of the building and what's going to happen there with 8 to 10 employees is very limited. And I believe that the community needs having it be safe, having it be a local business, having it be properly maintained, properly lit, properly secured, and provide tax dollars is pretty significant in this area for this underutilized lot. Traffic flow and safety, we've talked a little bit about this. We talked a little bit about, well, we can talk about the site, we can also talk about the area of the site. I've been involved in multiple projects in this area. This intersection has been studied, and there's been significant engineering that's already been done at this intersection, and significant monies from different clients and developers around town that have put money into this intersection. I think if you go there today, if you've driven this forever like I have, you'll notice that there's a flashing stop sign there now, which was not there before. There's a significant hillside that was taken out. If you're coming down Turnpike and you look down Mill to the right, that was all pulled back and flattened, and that area sloped back up with grass, so that area has a great sight line now. That used to come right out to the road and basically be straight up and down. And then to the left, it appears that at some point there were some trees removed. And what happens now in talking to Tony and Sheila from the DPW is that sometimes the grass comes up above the guardrail, and that's the only thing that impacts the sightlines to the left, down Mill Road when you're looking to the left. And again, you come out there and you look, if that grass gets above there, yeah, it starts to kind of affect what's going on there. So what we've done, as Casey stated, is add that to the landscape maintenance plan because it is on our client site. He can have it mowed when the rest of the project is maintained and make sure that that grass stays low and maintained. Regarding the site itself, what we've done is we've actually moved the driveway away from the intersection. So if you look at the site plan existing versus proposed, we've actually moved the driveway further down Mill Road, further away from Turnpike. We did that for a couple of reasons, to get it away from the intersection, but also to make the driveway less steep. Right now, the driveway goes straight up into that site. And so, to make it more comfortable for Mr. Martell to use the site, for his employees to use the site, we pulled that driveway out and down, and we added the houses across the street. We made sure when we were looking at that, when somebody were to pull out, we're now not changing it and putting it right into somebody's bay window in the front of their house. So you can see that on the plan. We've brought those houses in from GIS to make sure that you can see it. Basically, somebody coming out of that driveway in the morning or in the evening when they're going to a site and coming back and going home, basically it lines up with the edge of one of the homes across the street. So it basically goes between those homes. What we also did when we were looking at the traffic flow and safety is we met early on with the fire prevention office. I was in there with Danielle immediately upon layout, not even grading, layout, with the layout of the fire truck, talking about access. Making sure that the emergency vehicles, which couldn't get up there today and into the upper part of the parking lot, not that I'm not really sure why they would need to. With the building on site, now with employees on site, we wanted them to be able to get up there, and not only get up there, but be able to turn around and get out. So we've worked with Danielle and the fire prevention office to make sure that they're comfortable with the new layout of the project. That really changed where we put the building, where we put the parking, where we put the dumpster. Basically, this entire parking lot is set up and striped and laid out for traffic flow and safety. Also, in thinking about the employees, understanding that there'll be a couple people in the office garage area, we did provide handicap parking, and we looked at pedestrian access to the building there too, to make sure that someone who's impaired can get into the building if they would need to. Not that customers come to see the tree service, but certainly if someone was employed in the office and or someone was coming to the site, there is adequate parking and it is accessible at the building. And lastly, we provided sidewalks there too, to make sure that people coming off those parking spaces can get into the door or the entrance. Road's dry. The next one is adequacy of utilities and other public services. So obviously utilities, especially sewer, has been very much on the mind of everyone in the town of Chelmsford. So again, that was one of the first conversations I also had. After meeting with fire, I also called Christine Clancy and talked sewer and said, what's going on? I have a very low user. We do not have a sewer connection. It's really smaller than it's smaller than a 3-bedroom house, the amount of sewage flow coming out of here. Based on the policies that are being created, do we need to create an on-site septic system, or can we connect to the sewer? Is there another methodology to do that? And she took that back, and we had a conversation. She talked to staff. They're developing new moratorium guidelines, and the new moratorium guidelines, which I think you've heard of because I think they're in other permits, would say that we could connect with the privilege fee, with the capacity fee, and then with the I&I fee on top of that. So it's an additional fee over before the moratorium was created. And what that does is it gets monies to the DPW and the engineering department to help with some of the illegal connections into the sewer, which then get sent to the city of Lowell and push our flows up. So those monies would go into that pot. So sewer is adequate based on that information. And it's only, I believe we calculated it to be about 262 gallons per day, which a bedroom in a house is 110 gallons per day. With that, we're about the same for water. We had some conversations with water department. You have a letter within your file. We actually don't even need to be sprinkled for this building. So we were able to put in essentially a domestic size line into the building from the water system. And as CJ Martella told you at the last meeting, if people are there, they're not making them money. So he really doesn't want his employees hanging around the yard all day and using the facilities, using water, et cetera. So that is the utilities. Neighborhood character and social structures. So the neighborhood consists of an industrial neighborhood, commercial neighborhood. I'm down the street in my office. I see a lot of people from the offices walking around. I know people that live in the Kinloch that walk around. And the residential neighborhood. So we thought about character, certainly, when CJ looked at the site, and we talked about what that means. And that means a small structure that affected how we laid out the lot. How would we be least impactful? Not only does it make the most sense for his business, but how would we be the least impactful or try to cause no impact to the neighborhood? And that was looking at, does it make more sense for the yard to be up front and the building to be at the back? He could probably fit a larger structure if we did that, but it doesn't work. So we reduced the structure by almost half to the 3,500 square feet and said, you know what, it really makes sense to put the use or the yard up higher, behind the wall, behind the fence, and the furthest away from the residential abutters. And bring the building up front, which adds to screening. Then you have the wall, you have the elevation differential that Casey showed you, you have the fence, and then on all other sides, you have a huge topographical difference that goes up, basically the roof lines at where it hits on Turnpike, and then it continues to go up. And then the parking lot and the building behind us, which you saw on that, was also significantly higher. So social structures, I think we've heard at other times when I've been here about this lot and when we broke off the lot, that it's problematic having it be an underutilized lot. People park vehicles there. There's a catch basin on site that doesn't have a rim anymore. We're not really sure where that could have gone. There's nobody there, essentially. It's a fence, it has a fence around it. Nobody's taking care of the landscaping, nobody's taking care of the drainage, and there's essentially nobody there. People park there randomly. And so there is, what there is about it right now is not, from what I had heard from the neighborhood at a previous application, is not helping sort of the social structures that are in either the industrial or the neighborhood area. Certainly this will bring a very small user, a local user, somebody who's here, somebody that you can permit, and we talked about hours of operation, we talked about lighting to be shut off, we talked about significant landscaping, sight lines, somebody who's gonna be here 5 days a week, who's gonna take pride in this site as part of his own business. So I think that that is certainly much better than the overgrown abandoned parking lot that exists there today. Impacts on natural environment. There are no wetlands near this site. We're minimizing the amount of trees that we're cutting down. There's a very limited amount on the Turnpike Road side next to the building that's gonna carry the drainage easement from the upper lot through that area. And then there's an area between the building and the detention pond, and the detention pond itself needs to be cleared out. The reason being is because it's been left since the 80s. There's about 1 foot to 2 feet of material that's not supposed to be at the bottom of it, and trees have grown in it. We're gonna strip that all back out. That'll help the drainage situation because it'll put it back the way it's supposed to be, or was designed to be, which will hold more water. And it'll be covered by an operation and maintenance plan by Mr. Martel and have to be taken care of. Rules and regulations require that now, town staff requires that now. It will be in our permit and stay with the property. So also what we're looking at is creating a fully compliant drainage system. So the drainage that flows through there now does not meet today's stormwater management standards, nor Chelmsford stormwater management standards, which requires additional TSS removal and phosphorus removal. So even though we're reducing the amount of pavement, overall we're increasing the amount of impervious surface by 2,900 square feet total. And that's really because we're extending the driveway out, making it safer as we come in. We're putting new catch basins in, new CDS units, which are hydrodynamic separators. We're putting in underground infiltration, which is where we get the phosphorus removal. Not only that, but we've worked with the engineering department. We met with them out on site. We created an additional test pit in the bottom of the existing pond because they wanted to see if, essentially, while we were at it, if we could work on the old drainage system a little bit too. And Casey mentioned that if we could dig it out further, or if we could infiltrate and move the outlet up on the outlet control structure. We had assumed, and assumed correctly, that when it was originally designed, the reason it didn't have infiltration in it and the reason the outlet was at the bottom was because it couldn't infiltrate, and that's exactly what we found on Monday. But what we were able to do was rip out the outlet control structure that's there and design a new one, which will let the water out slower than it goes out today, and still not back the pond up to a point where we would need to be concerned about freeboard. So we're gonna pull out the outlet control structure that was designed before and put in a new one, and what that'll do is that'll slow the water down. That goes to Mill Road, and you can see in our calculations, we're reducing not only the amount of water that goes to Mill Road and the drainage system that goes down to Vincent and the wetlands down that end, but we're also reducing the rate in which it flows there, which helps the piping system as you go down. And that's the information that was contained in the updated engineering letter. Potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. As we spoke about before, right now this is a separate lot with nothing on it. It's not being used. It's not being used for the benefit of bringing in a local business that will help the local area with essentially removing trees. It doesn't provide a great tax base, which it will once it is a business. It will provide a new tax income to the town.
Do you have an amount? Do you know how much that would be?
No, I would not know where to begin with that. I don't. It's just
Okay, but you're saying. I
more
was
than it
wondering-
does now, right?
I get that, but I just wanted to understand. Okay.
There'll be 8 employees on the site, which will expand available jobs in the town. Potentially Chelmsford residents could work here. And it has a very minimal impact to town services, being that very few people are gonna be on site. It's a business where they come, get their vehicles, leave, and come back at the end of the day. We talked about hours of operation, we talked about lighting. So town services, there's not gonna be a lot of people on site that would and with that, certainly, again, as I stated, it's all in the report that we submitted prior to the first meeting. Certainly, I didn't write all of that into that verboseness into that report, but I think you understand. I think we could certainly talk at greater detail about any of those items. So with that, I don't believe we have anything else to speak to this evening. We'd be happy to answer any additional questions that the board may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Do we want to take it around? Paul?
I'm good.
John?
I'm good.
Anita?
I don't have any questions per se, but I do have a lot of concerns about this being the right thing in this neighborhood. And while I appreciate that there'll be supplemental tax income, I don't think that's going to necessarily offset the decrease in income and potential property values. On this, and again, I appreciate this business. It is small. It's but it's the trucks that are going in and out, and it's the equipment this close to a neighborhood. When this IA district was put in place, this wasn't the intent. So I do have concerns over that. I just want to let you know where I stand.
Katie, can you show on the plan, there's a lot of full-grown trees that are there that come down Turnpike. When you're gonna build that detention pond, how much of those mature trees are gonna be removed?
Basically, there's only a small line that are gonna be left here
Yeah.
between Mill Road and the top of the detention pond.
What about going up Turnpike, turning when you go up?
And then
Those are-
here, right, so a lot of the trees along the side of Turnpike are gonna stay, and then certainly all the ones on the corner and in the back. So there's a little swath that comes out right here, there's a swath that comes out right here, adjacent to the building. And then to clean out that detention pond, essentially, the existing detention pond, we have to take out all the vegetation in here, because we have to dig it down. And then it would be pretty much impossible to try to keep something between the foundation of the building and the top of that at that point, so those would come out too.
Okay.
And then there's a significant planting plan, there's 26 trees and 128 shrubs we're proposing on
Okay.
the site that don't exist there today. Yeah, this is our design. So we could certainly talk about, if the board would want to have us look at that, we could certainly add some additional vegetation, but we would want to make sure, again, the sight lines are here. So we don't want to really do a whole heck of a lot. We might be able to put something at the top of the berm here to benefit that a little bit more. But this is the area in this gray that is currently grass to help the sight lines that we're going to maintain.
Right. I'm just trying to get an idea, coming down Turnpike and you look to the left, there's a fully grown trees right there, all coming
Yeah,
down.
most of those are gonna stay, right.
Okay.
There are some, but the ones at the bottom of the hill that are gonna go. The ones
Mm-hmm.
at the ones at the top, as you go down that slope, the ones that you see the top of aren't
Yep.
gonna go. So we're not touching any of that. The building's almost 50 feet off the property line.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mike?
Well, it's an interesting balance that has to be done here between what's being proposed and what might go there in any event without any special permit required. I'll be interested to hear some of the public commentary.
I think we have that to look forward to. Chris?
I have a couple of questions. We have an April 19th letter from the water department, is there anything more recent? Because that last letter shows that there are some concerns.
That April 19th letter, they had a misunderstanding of what the proposal was. We can certainly ask them to issue a revised one, but I did meet with them and I had several conversations with them, and that's when we kind of determined that the only connection required would be the domestic, but they had a misunderstanding to begin with, so that's all taken care of.
So we don't have an
So
updated
we don't
letter.
have that, but we would need that.
Can
We would need
request
that.
one if Evan, if through
Okay.
Evan.
And then the last meeting, I asked about the stairs and if there was anything that can be done to prevent the water coming down into the property.
We have options. It's such a steep slope as it is that if water gets to the top of that slope, it's not really going to matter if it takes the stairs just straight down. I talked with CJ a little bit. If the property owner on 200 Turnpike is willing, he can take out the stairs because they're not going to be used. There's not really going to be any allowed access from the top to the bottom anyway, but they are on her property. They're not on our property to change. So if she is okay with that, we can take them out, and we'll do that as part of the project. But as far as stormwater goes, it's not really going to affect the way the stormwater comes down that hill. Also, the whole top lot has its own drainage system that comes down through a pipe, so there's not a lot of surface flow. The surface flow that comes down that hill is what falls on the hill. So it doesn't really channelize and go down those stairs.
That's not what we heard last meeting, though. Last meeting, we heard that it does flow down those stairs into that lot.
It doesn't flow down the stairs, it flows down the hill under a pipe. It goes in, the whole top lot has a drainage system, catch basins, collection pipes, and we have one collection pipe that comes from, I'll point to it. Everything collects up in this corner in a manhole and comes under through the site, but it's not overflow, or it's not overland, it's underground in a pipe. And that's what we're capturing and redirecting. But all of this, everything in that top lot goes to catch basins, which then go to the pipes. The only stuff that would come down the hill is what falls on the hill or falls on the stairs. That can't be captured from that top lot.
Okay, because I remember some of the testimony we heard from the last public hearing, people were saying that it was coming down the stairs in heavy rains.
So when you
So-
say it's going into that pipe underneath, that's not currently, that's what you're proposing, correct?
It is current. There is a pipe that goes from the top lot all the way through the bottom lot.
Okay.
And what we're going to do to allow the development is we're going to intercept that existing pipe and redirect it in a more efficient manner to be able to get to the pond and drain the way it should.
Okay.
So have you had any conversations with the other owner to see if they'd be willing to remove the stairs?
We haven't at this point, but we certainly can.
Okay. And at the last meeting, we heard that this was not going to be the primary location, that this is a secondary location.
That is correct.
Where is the primary location?
Primary location is located in Billerica,
Billerica? Okay.
29 Cook Street.
What was the address?
29 Cook Street, or is it 27?
29 what street?
29. What's that?
Brook Street?
Cook, sorry,
Cook.
Cook.
Okay, because the addresses that I saw on the application were all in residential areas.
The addresses that he resides at, or that we have him as a client at, is where he resides, yes.
Okay. But the business address that I saw in the application was in a residential area.
Is your official business address out of your residence, or is it out of the?
4 Riverhurst Road.
Yeah.
I used to live there. It's an apartment building. It just never got changed, so none of my trucks are there.
Okay. So how many trucks would be located here versus your primary location?
Overnight, the trucks leave during the day. Roughly 10.
10? Okay.
And how many at the primary?
I have about 20 trucks total. Yeah, and some trailers, so maybe at job sites or other parking locations. And I did talk to the current owner of the property, and she's fine with the concrete stairs getting removed.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
they'll
He did
serve
have that
no
conversation.
purpose no longer.
Okay. And then the other question I had is, while the new driveway location seems to be between the houses, as trucks turn either right or left, the headlights, because of the angle of that driveway, are going to swing right past the house on either side.
And if you're swinging from one direction to the other, they're gonna hit the house at some point anyway, no matter where the driveway's at.
But if the angle of the driveway is a little different, it wouldn't go right
Talking
into
about the
the house.
slope of the driveway or
Yeah,
the
the
angle
slope
that
of
it
the
comes in?
driveway.
Well, the slope of the driveway is required to get us up to the elevation required at the site. It's not something that, I mean, we could make it, we really can't make it more steep in the site either. It's kind of as steep as we'd be comfortable with into the site, and we made it as level as possible at the entrance of the site to create a more safe intersection at the driveway.
Okay. That's the last question I had, but I do have a concern. I know I've been emailing with Tony Rapucci because one of the questions I've had in a number of areas is about the high pollutant load in different sites. And one of the requirements is based on fleet storage. And I know that we saw in the letter that based on the definition of fleet that the applicant provided from the state, this would not be considered a fleet, or sorry, the U.S. federal government would not be considered fleet. But I did find a definition in the state guidelines that talked about a fleet being 10 vehicles. Not in the stormwater regulations, but in the general guidelines of definitions. So my concern is that if we're using the federal government that's on a larger scale, the smaller scale of the state has a smaller number of fleet vehicles, and that state number is 10. And it includes vehicles, trailers, special mobile equipment, mobile construction cranes, or combination thereof. So my concern is that, like Anita, this seems like a not the greatest location for this type of business.
The site is not also located in an aquifer protection district either.
What's that?
As far as the loophole goes, if it was a land use with higher potential loads, it would be required a certain amount of pretreatment if it's in an aquifer protection district. It's not located in an aquifer protection district.
No, I know. I'm just talking about the just general definition of fleet.
Yeah.
Looking at the GIS map, this is in a weird corner of the IA district that essentially creates a boundary between the residential on two sides and the IA on the third side. And it feels weird to put special permitted use on the boundary of an IA district that could have impact on the neighbors because of the noise from the trucks starting up. They're going to echo through that because of the steepness of the hill. The vehicles starting up are going to echo right beyond that hill into the neighbors. The headlights, and then that number of vehicles in that location is really concerning to me. So I have a lot of concerns about this project.
Chris, can I just ask you a question? You were talking about, you had asked a question about the slope in the headlights.
Mhm.
Were you going down the path that if it was a different slope, the headlights wouldn't go in?
Well,
Or were you,
I drive by there a lot because of my kids' soccer games. And if you look on the residential side, the houses are a little bit lower. And so because the slope of that driveway is aiming the headlights down, it's going to go right into the houses.
Yeah.
If the houses were a little bit higher, then it wouldn't necessarily go right into the houses. So it's a
Thank you.
weird location.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I know you started at this end.
That's fine.
I thought we were looking for questions, but could I offer a comment if we have
Sure.
time? No, I drove on both Turnpike and Mill Road on 2 different occasions to look at this site out, before the first hearing date. And one of the things that struck me is, as some of the members have alluded to on the board, is that the closeness of the entrance, it's literally right across the street from several residences. So when I look at this, one of the things I have serious concerns about is the amount of equipment, the size of it, exiting and entering that property right across from a residential area. So
We do have one letter,
Okay.
which I can summarize. This is from DPW. No outstanding site plan review concerns. The stormwater standards have been met. They confirm DPW will not deem this proposed site as an exterior fleet storage area. And the rest of this is pretty much standard.
So I wonder what criteria they're using for a fleet storage site.
Based on my email with,
Yeah.
with Tony, because we don't have a definition, and there is no definition in the stormwater regulations for the state, the applicant provided the federal government definition of a fleet. And that's what they used because we don't really have anything right now.
And what's the federal definition of a fleet?
The federal definition is from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Bureau of Transportation. After 2013, fleets of 4 to 14 vehicles are considered non-fleet, and fleet totals don't include fleets less than 15 after 2013 or before 1995. So essentially, it's the 14, 15
I see.
vehicle range.
Okay.
Whereas the state considers 10 as a fleet, and it includes trailers and cranes and trucks as part of that count.
Hi, may I say something? Is that okay? I'm CJ Martell. While we were on the topic of the the trucks or the cars, pickup trucks coming in and out or whatever, I did just want to bring up that currently that parking lot as is approved. It's allowed to have 94 vehicles parked there. I mean, that can be it can be a Honda Civic, it can be a Denali pickup, diesel, every one of them. So, if it was like an R&D building and, people got there at 7 a.m. and potentially left at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., in the fall or in the winter months, it gets dark at 4:30. So you're talking like a potential of almost 100 sets of headlights leaving when it's actually dark, pointing at the houses, with the driveway exit how it currently is at a kind of worse situation. It's kind of like more directed towards the houses from what I understand. So that number of potential vehicles brought down to less than a quarter of it. We leave in the morning. I mean, this time of year it's already light out at 7 a.m. so there's no need for headlights, and it stays light out until 8 o'clock. So we come back at 4 or 5. It's still light. We don't have the headlights on. And as far as the noise goes, I feel like there's a picture kind of painted of like an old like Mack truck, like really loud, blowing black smoke. These newer trucks, like mine are, mostly they're just as quiet as your, right? Definitely not as loud as, say, someone that drives around with like a motorcycle or a modified exhaust there. It's really not out of line. And like Katie talked about in the beginning, we have no business there. Our business is leaving the location and cutting trees or trimming trees at someone's house. So there's no need to let the trucks just sit there running. We want to start the trucks and leave. And we're gone, and the site is vacant for 10 hours with newer and improved landscape. And I guess that's about all. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I have a question for you, since you brought up the noise. Can you just give us a picture of what happens on the site? Do you test your chainsaws on site? Are you going to be fixing them inside the building? And then I got a question about storage.
As of right now, I can tell you, I don't fix any of my own chainsaws. I cycle about 20 or 30 different saws. When they're broken, a few of them go to, there's a place called Cason's in Lowell. You guys are probably familiar. I give them 5 broken saws. I pick up my 5. I'm not a mechanic.
Yeah, I don't understand that part of the business. I'm just trying to understand. You're putting a yard in.
Yeah.
And you have equipment that you're using there.
Yep.
Your trucks come in, they offload. They're going to offload the trunks? Because you have storage here on the plan for trunks, not as high. We asked about the last meeting. It's not as going to be as many as down the street, a competitor on 129.
Yep.
But you're going to have to offload those by crane. Do they get trimmed there?
No, so you're talking about a log truck. So when they're on the log truck, inside the truck already, they've already been trimmed at the site.
Yeah.
All the branches are off it. It's just straight logs. So yes, there may be, let's say, one pile of pine logs and another pile of like oak or hardwood logs that does get offloaded by the log truck. Not by like a giant crane per se, but it's just truck with a boom on it. Think of like a roofing material truck, So.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I just one more comment regarding the trucks. If this site was designed with the building larger than the yard and the trucks were in the building and there were trucks outside the building, we would not need a special permit. The trucks would still be on the site. Only reason we need the special permit is because the building is small and the yard is larger than the building. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? If you made the.
If this was a contractor's yard.
Yeah, so then you made the building
Not
the
out,
big
if the
thing.
building was bigger, which we could do based on the size of this lot, and the yard was smaller, we'd still have the same vehicles on this site, and we would not need a special
But you
permit.
would put the vehicles in the building.
And outside. They could be both, in and out. We could have a parking lot with all the vehicles. If the building was larger than the parking lot, it would just be a contractor's yard, not an outdoor contractor's yard. And therefore, it would be the same project with a larger building and a smaller parking lot. And we would not need a special permit. I just wanted to clarify that.
Katie, what would be the square footage of that building? Approximately.
Yeah, I mean,
You're at what, 3,500 now?
A 70,000 square foot lot, I think, can have, what's the FAR? 0.45, so just under half the size of that lot, we could put a building of 35,000 square feet on here if we wanted to, by right.
Okay, thank you.
So why wouldn't you do that?
That's not his business. But someone else could buy the property.
That's not who tried to buy the property, and that's not who has. If you want to wait for somebody to buy it for a 35,000 square foot contractor's yard, I guess that's within your right.
Oh, I get it.
But it's also within the right of the person who's selling the lot, who's had it on the market for some time, to find an appropriate use or what they feel is an appropriate use for the lot based on their interest. So.
If you're ready.
All right, so I guess we will open up I'll take a motion to open the public hearing, reopen the public hearing.
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
At least
anyone who wants to speak? Please try to be.
Yes, I know.
Name it.
Thank you. Hello, my name is David Lasky. I live at 3 Milestone Avenue, and I also represent the 16 houses for Milestone Estates. We were here last time, and we appreciate a lot of the information, but the more information we heard, the more concerns we had. So I'll try to briefly enumerate those. The first one we were just briefly talking about again was noise. One of the things that was mentioned at the last meeting was taking and storing the trees and possibly cutting those down. Just to let people know, when I looked at the GIS map and I looked to the property line from where they're putting the storage of those trees and where they probably would be trimming and doing any of that work, it is 34 meters to the property line of 215, as well as 43 meters to the dwelling. So I learned a lot last couple of years of doing sound calculations and everything else. And so just doing that type of equipment to saw and to, say, do any sort of chipping that they would have about a 78 to 84 decibel at that property line, as well as if they moved it around, you're looking at 80s to 90s to the property line of the industrial use. Both of those numbers exceed by 10 decibels what's in 195.39C. So if anything, if it does go forward, there should be a restriction that prohibits any type of milling or tree work to trim those down, which would then create that noise, which would immediately violate those noise standards. In terms of traffic safety, we talk a lot about some of these vehicles and comparing it to Priuses and Denali's, but perhaps we should talk about one of the largest cranes that exists in the United States. So one of the cranes that's owned by J.C. Artel is a Grove GMK 4090. That is a 130 pound plus vehicle. And to put that size in perspective, if you went from the chairperson to this wall, you would have to raise this ceiling up over 3 feet, and it would not even fit the length of this. That is the size of vehicle that wouldn't even fit in this room or half of this room. It would extend too far and crash up against the ceiling. That's going to be driving down Mill Road. So in terms of a traffic study, we're not talking about Priuses, we're not talking about SUVs, we are talking about massive construction equipment that the own website brags that there's only a handful in the country that size. That's not something that belongs on that road, as well as the road is not going to sustain, that 60, 70 ton vehicle traveling up and down. So if you want to compare that to, say, UPS trucks, that's like 4 UPS trucks, 2x2, 2x2, front and side, and then adding it about the weight of about 8 of them stacked into it full. It's a massive vehicle. So one of the things that hasn't been discussed is the size of these vehicles, and perhaps we should put restrictions on what those sizes are. But I can tell you right now, almost getting run off the road when we had a tractor trailer, which was very infrequent on Mill Road, a vehicle that size is going to cause issues. The other part that I really want to talk about is, I'm not sure what the status is on the 84 Turnpike Road, but one of the things that was mentioned going back and forth was that they possibly have them going down 129 instead of Turnpike. But if there are 2 businesses that are on those, in between on the sides of Turnpike, I have a great concern about what that traffic is. And then lastly, in terms of, we hear the business operations and everything else, this will be a 24/7 business. It's already been mentioned that the emergency, and that's where all these things are going to. And we can't even control what's in the current, industrial lot. I was woken up at 3:41 this morning when we had dumpsters being emptied. And so at a distance of over a quarter mile, we have large activity. This isn't getting addressed by the town because we don't have the time to go out there. So this would occur from this morning was 3:41 to 3:46. Everyone in my area was woken up. But by the time we get out there, we can't find out where the business is occurring because, again, the noise is so infrequent, but it's extremely loud. So we do have concerns about the amount of noise and what's going on and the size of the vehicles that are in this area. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mildred Pack, and I live at 12 Dominic Drive in Chelmsford. I came to Chelmsford in 1963, and during my 60 years here, many of my neighbors have witnessed the neighborhood change from a quiet country road and now we're living amongst big and small businesses. We've adjusted and gone on with our lives. The property in debate tonight is on the corner of Turnpike and Mill, which is historically a dangerous corner. The last time they did a traffic study when Mill and 3 came up, there were 7,000 cars tracked on that road. A scenic country road, ridiculous. Now it seems that a small piece of land could be used for outdoor contractor yard, housing a large building and very large and heavy tree removal equipment. This is an unacceptable plan, and we are here tonight to ask the planning board to say no and leave Mill Road as it is now. And more important, we have a group home that lives directly across from where that building and all those trucks are gonna be, where children and adults live in a group home. They're gonna be impacted by that. That's unacceptable. And one thing I'd like to know, will there be sawing and cutting of logs there? And is it a 24/7 operation? We just can't have that on that corner. It's so dangerous. I can't tell you, every time I come out of Dominic Drive and I take a left, I look and I look and I look, and then the minute I turn, the next thing I have someone right up behind me that wasn't there when I turned the corner. It's not the right place for this. Please don't do it. Thank you.
Good evening, Chris Bowman, Precinct 10 representative. And I'd like to start with some highlights. First, the hours of operation. Recently, one of Martel's competitors, Marquis Tree Service, changed its hours from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to 24-hour operations. So Martel is going to do the same in order to stay competitive. So 24 operations of a contractor yard on a road opposite residential homes, neighborhoods, and others nearby, like Millie said, is unacceptable. Now, the address given for Martel on Martel's application is actually an apartment complex in Billerica. According to his website, Martel said he's been in business for 25 years. He's proposing a project of a contractor yard. So we should be able to have the correct address to go to where he currently has his operations to see how he, in fact, operates his equipment and comes and goes and whatever is there and is not there and how it's actually done. But we are denied that because we don't have the right address.
29 Cook Street.
We attempted to find Martel's address, and 29 Cook Street is also a residence. In the area of the Parkhurst section of Billerica, there is no Martel equipment operations site. So that information is still missing, and I believe that this board should have firsthand knowledge as to what those operations entail, and should also visit Mill Road and Turnpike Road in all the residential areas, so you have a better idea of what is going on and what the adverse impacts will be. That's why I included some examples of contract yard, looks like, cranes, trucks and equipment, and more trucks. The cranes are massive, as was mentioned recently, and the trucks are huge. At the last meeting, Martel did say he's going to do some chipping and log cutting on his site, his proposed site on Mill Road. So that is what will be done unless somebody from this board or someone you designate will stand there every single second of every single day to watch them, which I'm sure you are not willing to do. Okay, so pretty much in summary, the special permit, contrary to what Katie said, the special permit threshold criteria requires written adverse effects of the proposed use, and that it will not outweigh its beneficial impacts to the town or the neighborhood in view of the particular characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that use. This coupled with the efforts of the planning board to guide land use management that preserves the character and integrity of the town. A contractor yard in with residential homes and residential neighborhoods is not conducive to preserving the character and integrity of those residential homes and neighborhoods, nor of the town. Mill Road is a scenic road, not just because of trees and walls, but because of its aesthetic beauty. A contractor yard will demolish that. Again, that is unacceptable. 1 second, please. So, with such a contractor yard in that location, the residents' property values will decrease dramatically, and the residents' quality of life will be severely diminished. Hearing that vibration and trucks 24/7 every day of the year is unacceptable. People bought their homes in a residential neighborhood. This is not a quiet business. This is not a non-polluting business. This is not a business that is inconsequential to the residential area. It is highly impactful. No one has discussed the adverse impacts, nor the air pollution from all these trucks, which will affect the health of the residents. And there's also a safety issue. People do bicycle, they walk along Mill Road and Turnpike Road. Having those kind of trucks there is obviously a safety issue. During rush hour, morning and evening, cars speed up and down Mill and up and down Turnpike. And as someone just previously mentioned, you look both ways, and both ways, and both ways for a long time. You think it's safe, you turn out, and someone is zooming up the road and on your butt. So the traffic on Mill Road and Turnpike Road is dangerous by itself as is. Never mind introducing these type of trucks.
With all due respect, I appreciate your input, and you are now reiterating.
Yeah, I'm wrapping. This is a wrap-up.
I went about a minute and a half ago, you said 1 more minute.
Yeah, well, this is.
Okay, but we're
this
trying
is
to
just
keep new
the wrap-up
information
and
not reiterate.
I understand. This
Okay.
is just the wrap-up,
Let's have you
just to hit
practice a
those
little.
points.
Okay.
That's all. That's all it is. So I thank you very much. Hopefully you had an opportunity to read and look at the letter I sent to you. And we trust that this board will do the right thing.
Okay,
Thank
I
you
would
very
also-
much. Thank
I
you.
would also like to say that, we try and do our work in advance of the meeting.
I understand that. I'm just saying,
At
I
5
hope.
o'clock when I finish work on the day of the meeting, I'm not going to be able to give it the time and reflection that it deserves, just for your edification.
I'm doing the best I can. I'm being slammed like everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brian Latina, Precinct 9 Town Meeting Rep. Been in town for 30 years, 15 Jesse Road, just down the road on off Turnpike. And I've driven down this hill many times, went sideways down it at one point. With 5 kids in the car, my wife has a permanent injury falling on Mill Road while she stood there and watched the traffic so that I could slide the rest of the way down the hill. Luckily, there's a property on the right-hand side that the DPW has put big rocks in, but I was able to go into the ditch before the rocks were there and was able to slide down the hill. The group home that's there now has 4 ladies living there. And if you look at this map, it's exactly opposite the building that's being proposed. Steel building, 3,500 square feet, I'm told. And by right, I'm told tonight that they could put 35,000, 10 times the size of that building, and they could do what they want to do here on this corner. That's great. I challenge anybody to try to put a contractor lot on that property with a building that size. What you have before you is an outside contractor special permit opposite a house with a group home on Turnpike Road that the state finances. And I don't know if the CEO is here tonight, so I'm going to speak for another group home down the street from me. These people have a special right to have quiet, peaceful places to live outside of their original homes. The four people that live there do not expect you people to give a special permit to put an outside contractor yard with the biggest trucks I've ever seen. One came at me on Route 3A today, about 5 o'clock. It had Martel's name on it. I got to see one of these trucks. It was massive, great big red thing, 3 guys in the front of it. It was bouncing, the tires are this big. It's huge. I can't even imagine that on Mill Road every day, starting up opposite these ladies' home. State funds it. I suspect if anybody wanted to get in to have some fun here, it's an ADA violation, it's a HUD violation from the sound alone. The sound meter here, it's an analog, old style. My neighbors 300 feet away from me had a machine out in their yard this weekend. It was only 80 decibels. My son is handicapped. Whenever their dumpster truck backs out of their driveway, which somebody allowed a permit to be built, so we have a duplex across the street, and dumpster comes at 7 o'clock every Tuesday morning, the beep, beep, beep sound makes Matthew scream and cry. People that are special needs sometimes have auditory issues associated to sound. They certainly would if you started a chainsaw up. And if I'm a logger and I drive in at 8 o'clock at night and one of my chainsaws needs to be kick-started because it's cold, I'm going to guess that it's going to start up there. This is not the place to put it. And I'm going to go to a promise that or a statement that our community development director gave me when we were trying to pass one of our BEIOD, CE permitting special overlay districts on this particular road. There was an orange strip along the entire Turnpike Road, and I didn't know what it meant, so I went down to his office, and he explained that that orange strip, when we put the overlay in, was a residential buffer zone. I'm going to jump back 30 years ago. Mr. Carey told me, never would you build residential on that side of Turnpike, never would you put industrial on that side of Turnpike. Consider that a promise. But our community development director, as a town meeting rep standing before him with a big map on the wall of Turnpike, said that orange zone is a residential buffer zone. The only thing that can be built along Turnpike on that side of the road with a grandfather issue, the only thing is multifamily housing. And the quote that I will never forget was, you wouldn't want a contractor yard on that street. They could run 24/7, 365, right? You wouldn't want that, would you? I agreed with them because we're talking about my trucks are gone and all that sort of thing. I got this in the mail 3 days ago. Martel, crane service and tree removal, the same tag that was on the truck that I saw coming at me on 3A. Startling to see such a big truck going as fast as it was. I'm sure it was the speed limit, but it scared the crap out of me. This says that, unlike what he said in your meeting on the 26th, available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for emergency services. I'll take his word that that's what he's sending me in my mail. And that's what it really is, 24 hours a day. If you're going to start those trucks up 24 hours a day across the driveway from that group home, then folks like my disability commissioner over here, who lives in a group home, will have a problem with that. And I personally will challenge it. And as a town meeting rep, I feel like I protected the gentleman and his employees when I explained that the other property just down Turnpike had a chemical spill problem in it that he wasn't aware of, and he almost got that property to build a contractor yard. 41 parts per billion TCE. 4 parts per billion is the federal standard, the highest standard you can have. I feel like I protected his employees and him not to get into that building. I'm now standing up for the 4 residents that live at that handicap house across the street that the state pays for, and I'm going to guess that they will defend if you do the special permit and allow this outside contractor yard to be built. And I would challenge them to put a 36,000 square foot building there. And just from the noise point of view, you can't do this. You can't do this. From a road point of view, forget it.
Okay. So you want to talk?
Go, yeah, I'll bring you back.
Okay.
Wait, is there anyone else who wants to come forward and speak?
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Tom Liakis, 25 Donna Road in Chelmsford. Yeah, I was just curious, what defines a contractor yard? Is that something that just all of a sudden is in the bylaws or in the town? Why can somebody petition, especially in that location? It's mind-boggling, to be honest with you, in my mind. Can somebody tell me why do we have the availability to be even think about putting something like a contractor yard, which I never knew existed until tonight? Can somebody answer that question? What is that all about? Is that, I don't understand. Is that in our bylaws? Somebody can petition Evan to come out and all of a sudden, I want a contractor yard. I want to buy this piece of property, or I own this piece of property. Is that zoned? Is that a contractor yard zoned presently right now?
Yes.
It is? Okay. And the other couple, just very quickly, is that I'm trying to think of an elevation wise, and I think the woman, mentioned about there was going to be they were going to start moving the building back. I'd be curious when somebody mentioned about sight lines. When they moved that back, and that house directly across the street, I go there 1,000 times myself, directly across the street, elevation-wise, how much of the contractual equipment are they actually going to see? Is that fence going to be in the front? I know there's a sight line, you got to be careful going up Turnpike or vice versa. Is any of that going to be an issue? I didn't hear anything about the size of the fence. Maybe it was, she disseminated a lot of information. I can't digest all that stuff by any stretch, but is there a fence? I mean, can somebody tell me if I'm sitting on the front steps of that house across the street and I want to see how much of that equipment am I physically going to see? Never mind whether it's good or bad. What am I looking at as far as I'm the person across the street?
Probably nothing. You're going to see a wall and a fence, and it's going to block the view of the equipment.
It's, okay, so, okay, that.
Can you guys go to the mic?
Can you go to the mic?
Excuse
Okay,
me.
so
Please go to the mic.
you're saying, okay, the other thing is I traveled down Boston Road today in Billerica, and there's a rental for pieces of equipment.
Mr. Yakis.
And all this
Mr.
things
Yakis. Mr. Yakis, you have to address,
She wants
you
me to
can
speak
address
into the mic.
us, and we will ask.
I can stop.
Okay.
No, no, I'm not asking you to
You
stop.
just need to address us, and we will ask the applicant to respond.
Okay, I could do that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I forgot what I just was. Yeah, but,
Height, height of the fence.
yeah, we're talking about the fence. And, but I must admit, and the gentleman is petitioning to make this lot, he is by far not the only person that has an address working out of a condominium or a townhouse in another town. I'll give him that. But it's kind of disheartening that she said, or whatever, I'm sorry, that we can do it. We can do it if we really want to do it. We'll just have to downsize, so we could put an X amount of building there. That's. I don't think that's very. I think she was kind of demanding. Maybe she can, maybe she can't. That's up to the board to decide. But I think, she's throwing something in, well, I just took it as an offense that, you come out here, you're extended your workday, and that's it. But I was curious of sight lines, how much you're actually going to see. I didn't know about this until somebody handed me a flyer yesterday. Okay.
Thank you. Katie, if you can respond.
I would like for you to talk about the sightlines a bit, but I think maybe we'll see if anyone else wants to speak first, and then I think, I don't think we're gonna get through this tonight, so.
Brian, does he want to speak? Oh, does he want to go first? Yeah, he's fine. Do you want to go? I can let him go first.
Hi, my name is Franklin Rajowski. I'm down the street from Brian Montina. I'm at 9 Jesse Road. I totally disagree with this business that you're trying to put in with, I don't care what you say, diesel trucks, I don't care. That is a loud, obnoxious noise. I do not care. I veto that. Okay? And I speak not only for myself, but also for Brian Watina's son, that does not like noise at all. And I don't care what you guys think, but having a business at the corner of Mill and Turnpike is very unacceptable. Okay?
Hi, my name is Joe Snyder. I'm at 221 Mill Road. All right, so I'm the house on the far right. My concerns I have are, what kind of maintenance are we doing in this garage? The noise levels, what are these going to be caused by? We're talking about heavy machinery. So I think there's going to be two types of maintenance going on. One is going to be some of those saws or whatever they're using. Somebody's got to sharpen that stuff because he's not taking them down every week to recycle. That's going to make noise. The other one is going to be maintenance of vehicles. I just don't understand how we have a garage and not do maintenance there. That's going to make other noise. I mean, we all know what a air impact drill makes. You know, if I got to change my tire. Those are my two big concerns. The other one's the sight line and the driveway itself. Regardless of where you're moving that driveway is dangerous. I can already tell. Turnpike and Mill, that's one of the most dangerous intersections with Dominic. I live right there. My driveway comes out. The gentleman that said, you got to look left, right 20 times, and there's always somebody on your butt. I can't imagine one of these trucks pulling out of this driveway. There's no way a 40-foot truck's not going to take up both lanes to make that turn. Not to mention the reverse. All these trucks were required to have an alarm when they go into reverse. There's another sound problem. That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you very much.
Hi, Noreen Austin, 2 Julio Street. I just want to add one thing. Nobody has said this tonight. On the corner of Dominic and Mill Road is where the high school bus picks up and drops off pupils. And it's dark sometimes when they're there, and it's a problem. That's all I want to say.
Good evening. Robin Doucette. I live at 9 Julio. I'm right off Dominic. I wasn't happy about all the apartments that got moved in. Tore up my woods behind me. Mill Road. You're looking at Mill and 3. I don't know why you want to pay that kind of money to rent an apartment looking over industrial park and or corporate park, I should say, in Route 3. I actually had Martel remove trees from my house. They're wonderful guys. I will say that. It's good company. They did great work. They were very professional. My grandson was out there watching the trees being removed. It was great. That being said, sorry, sir, I don't want him in my neighborhood. I don't. I have a great neighborhood. I've been only there 12 years, so not very long compared to some of you folks. I apologize, I'm nervous. I've never been to a town hall meeting, let alone speak. But anyway, I've only been there 12 years. It is a great, peaceful neighborhood. It has turned over to a bunch of kids. There are so many young families in this neighborhood. It's wonderful. It's regrown, rebirth, or whatever you'd like to call it. It's wonderful. My grandkids come and stay with me. I don't want this. I don't want the noise. I don't want the pollution. I don't want the danger that's going to be added. Everybody has said it. Turnpike and Mill Road is, I ride my bike there. I go up Dominic, up Turnpike, and go to my yoga studio. All the way down Turnpike. I don't know why I do it. I'm surprised I haven't been hit. But it's dangerous. And I look 5 or 6 times. I'm just a bicycle. It's easier for me to get across that road than a car. So I beg you, look at the residents. Take note of what we have to say. Our property values, our quality of life, it matters. He can find another home.
Eric Doucette, 10 State Street. I just have a lot of concerns about the noise. They're a little bit higher up. That noise is going to shoot right into the neighborhood. Chainsaws, I mean, you're going to have logs there. You're going to be processing firewood or processing those logs somehow. And just the big trucks going down Mill Road. That's a windy road. That's a huge crane. And the noise. That's really what I'm concerned about. And that's about it. I just want to say I'm opposed about the yard. Thank you.
I think we're going to listen to hopefully
Hi there, I'm Phil Sheehan.
Excuse me.
I live at 5 State Street.
We're going to take you and one more person, and then we're going
There
to,
may
Maybe one on Zoom as well.
Yeah.
and then we're going to call it for the night.
I've lived in Chelmsford for 47 years, in the house on 5 State Street. When your industrial park went in there, I was told light industrial. Okay? Now, we're going to turn around, and I don't have any problem with Martel. They do good work. I've seen them in the neighborhood. But it's not the place to put it. I've come down Turnpike. I've talked to the police department as far as trucks speeding down Mill Road. Okay? And they're not on their side of the street. I almost had a head-on collision not too long ago. And the Chelmsford police turned around and put a patrol car out there on Turnpike. Okay? I stopped to talk to one of the officers that was there. Danny Sullivan used to be in my Cub Scout pack. Okay? And we had a conversation. And that officer turned around and told me he clocked a guy coming down Turnpike at 87 miles an hour. All right. If you don't travel that road all the time, on Turnpike and Mill Road, do it. Because it scares the hell out of me. And I used to travel 60,000 to 80,000 miles a year in my business. It's no place for it. Sorry.
Nancy Fighton, 195 Mill Road. I just want to add that the entering and exiting of the vehicles is going to be down a hill, which begins outside of 195, 191 actually, down a hill that then curves to the left and then curves to the right. That's where the entering and exiting of these vehicles is going to be. The whole time, people are also going to be looking to their left to check out Turnpike as they're driving by to be sure that they're able to come, be able to get by Turnpike without being hit. It's just totally unacceptable to have that kind of a business there. Recently, there was an accident outside our home, which we've had a gazillion accidents that have gone right through our stone wall. Outside our home, and it was a hit and run. They hit the telephone pole and left the scene. And a police officer came to speak to us about it. And in the conversation, it was brought up about this business that was thinking about being put in here. And he said to me personally, this is not the kind of road, too windy and too narrow to have that kind of a business. Thank you.
There was one person on Zoom, Ariel. Here he is. Okay, you're up.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, Ariel Weisberg, 237 Mill Road. Yeah, I just wanted to say that there are probably many good uses for this land, but just the noise that the large industrial trucks make on Mill Road already, it's already like I already have a taste of this, and it's just they vibrate your entire house, and it's just basic physics. It's the bigger the vehicle, the bigger the tires, the more weight, the farther that's going to carry, and then the backing up, at what hour, the 24/7 potential for 24/7 operation is also extremely concerning because it's one thing to have a lot of noise during the day, it's another when you're trying to sleep, which for some of us is maybe not already so easy. So I am not an expert in the legalities of who has what rights, but it is it affects a lot of people when one person, 10 people participate in this business, but there's just as many people in the area that are negatively impacted. I really hope that some other use is found for this property. Thank you.
I just want to close out. I know you said that was going to be the last person you heard from this evening. I'd just like to remind the board that we have stated a lot of facts. You have heard from your police. You have heard from your DPW. If you have heard from us, excuse me, you guys got a chance to talk. You've heard from us at the last meeting talking about the facts of CJ Martel's business. You can look online. You can see that he has done a fabulous business. I think he had 5 out of 5 stars for everything on the review. It was like 20 reviews that people had put on, 5 out of 5 stars. The conspiracy that this is the worst possible contractor's yard to ever be in the entire world is not what we're talking about here. If you're concerned about noise, let me ask you, we're telling you it's not going to be very loud. Ask CJ to go there and start his truck for the board, or go to his site on Cook Street, which exists because we went there today, and start the vehicle. It is not as loud as people say. This zone did not happen overnight. My grandparents lived where Thermo Fisher is. I remember going there as a child. That was more than 30 years ago that this became an IA zone. This is not overnight. This is not yesterday. This was an IA zone long before many people moved into this neighborhood. I also have a business on Turnpike Road. That being said, please review the facts of Mr. Martel's business. We spoke to the 24-hour operation at the last meeting, and what that means, it means he's taking a phone call at his house and going to look at the site. Please take a look at what we talked about regarding lights. We talked about the lights being shut off and being on motion sensors after the evening, and the note on our plan is incorrect. I apologize for that, and I will fix that. But we added the note. It was added incorrectly. The lights will be shut off. If you're concerned about noise, let us know. But regarding traffic, the traffic has been studied. Your police has commented. Your DPW has commented. We have provided information that says that is not an issue. We are helping the drainage situation. We are in an IA zone. We are trying to propose something reasonable on the site. If the concerns for the exterior and the reason for finding a reason under the special permit criteria to potentially deny this project based on noise, please get your facts about Mr. Martell's business, not the worst-case scenario. And that's what I would ask of you tonight, because I know we're going to continue.
All right.
Thank you. Were we gonna hear just a little bit about the sightlines, or do we cover that?
Sightlines.
From the street, so from Mill Road.
From the front porch across the street?
Right, so essentially, they're going to be looking up, right? Yeah, could you bring back up the site plan? The sight line exhibit.
Close it or continue?
What?
Do a straw poll.
Your crane is 14 feet tall, right? From
Yeah.
ground to the top is 12.
Right. Okay.
So, this is Mill Road down here. This isn't very exaggerated, so you can see this is Mill Road down here. This is the site driveway. This is the building, and this is the upper lot. This is where we had a 40-foot vehicle sitting. That vehicle is 12 foot 6 in height. That's behind this. When you're looking at the ground, looking up, you're gonna see an 8-foot wall, a 6-foot fence, and I can draw you a triangle and see if you might catch the top of that vehicle. But we could also move it further away from the fence if you're worried about catching the top of that vehicle. But the vehicle would be right here, and you're looking up, essentially through the fence, to catch the top of that vehicle, which is the tallest vehicle he has. So if the concern is about sightlines and possibly seeing the top of the crane, I mean, the crane is street rated, obviously. He has to go under bridges, he has to go down public roads all the time. We can look at that very specific view shed. We have the elevation. We can draw you a sight line. And if the concern is that you're gonna catch the top of that, we could just move it to a different location so you wouldn't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be keeping the expensive crane in the building. That was the idea.
He can bring it into the building. Would you keep it in the building all the time though, or?
Ideally, if I had my way, yeah. I don't, if I could put a bigger building there, you know, if I had the money to do so and the space was there, I would do it, you know, but before, like, some of the kind of like smaller stuff in the wintertime, it gets cold and icy, it doesn't work that well, so it does get kept in it overnight, just so it doesn't, you know, some of the stuff doesn't freeze.
That's fine.
But just to clarify what I think I just heard, in order to keep that big crane inside, the building would need to be bigger.
No, I mean, there's enough to keep just the one larger crane in there. I mean, I could probably fit the one crane and a couple more, but like, I don't need to like stuff everything inside, you know?
Okay.
I mean, if I could, it's like, you have a nice vehicle, everyone would like to keep their vehicle inside a garage, if you can, a garage. And I do apologize to everyone if, you know, I think I've upset a lot of people without even directly really knowing anyone, so I'm sorry for that. And, thank you for coming. I do hear your concern. I think there's a picture painted about a contractor yard of something out of like Mad Max. Like old trucks and a, you know, looks like it's some condemned area with rusty trucks when I have on a daily basis 6 to 8 of these trucks. They're gone in the morning and they're gone all day. As far as the emergency thing, the 24/7. Do you want me to go up there? Yeah, and I'll be quick. I know I get into it late. It keeps getting brought up, the 24/7 hours of operation between myself and other tree companies. We all say it. I mean, what that means is, I mean, we all live around here too. I live 5 minutes from here. How often do you? I live off Route 4 on Simon's Farm Road on the Billerica-Chelmsford line. How often do we see our house or a neighbor's house with the whole tree on it? Like once a year, a couple times a year at most. So it's like those are the couple times that the 24/7 really kind of applies. And like if a tree falls in the middle of the night, well, it's probably because it was really windy. We're not going to go out and work in the middle of the night. I'll go look at it. I get woken out of bed. I'll go look at it and say, hey, yeah, this is the price, and we'll be here first thing in the morning. I'm not. I can't. You can't do a tree job in pitch black. No, seriously, I mean, you can't really run equipment. I'm not gonna like set up these like enormous floodlights in someone's front yard to do a job that can wait 6 hours, you know? It doesn't make any, we don't work in the wee hours of the night. Yeah, that's really about all I have to say about it. Unless does anyone kind of think or want to ask me otherwise about the 24/7 thing? It's gotten brought up quite a bit, so if like anyone,
So what type of a project would you go out at 3 o'clock in the morning for?
it's me personally in a pickup truck, just to look at it. And I mean, I'm talking, right, for us to go out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, this tree's gotta be like on someone's house, and like, oh my goodness, like if this isn't taken care of right now, it's gonna fall from the roof to the basement, and like total loss type situation. You know, it's gotta be like super emergency, you know? And at no point does it make sense to put, you know, myself or my guys or my, you know, the equipment at risk. So I honestly can't tell you. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 15 or 16 years old. One of the younger gentlemen I actually knew from Woburn, he knows me. I've never done a tree job at 3 o'clock in the morning, full out start to finish. If anything, it's been like, get the thing off the house, put the tree in the front lawn, shut it down until the morning. No chipping. I'm not gonna chip a whole tree, you know? We drive the trucks, you know, up and down Mill Road all the time. We work in. We hear you. Right. You know, as if anyone would hear a tractor trailer. Just a trailer on a tractor trailer can be 53 feet plus long. My longest crane is 40 feet, so you're talking, there's 70-foot long vehicles that go down Mill Road. And last time I've checked, when has there been an actual accident of a tractor trailer that occurred on Mill? Where was the actual collision and when? I know, hey, it could happen, sure. Like, we could get into an accident tonight, but facts, like Katie kind of touched on, there's tons of hypotheticals of what could possibly happen. Before I lose a train of thought too about wintertime, kind of steep driveway. I think somebody kind of talked before about what if one of the trucks slides into the road? Well, if there's snow on the ground, we don't work. We're a seasonal business. You know, so if there's snow, icy conditions, the trucks aren't going anywhere. If you went to my competitor, one of my competitors, I don't even like to call him that, he's my friend, Marquis Tree Service, he's a nice guy. I don't know, you know. Go to a shop right now, all his trucks are they're just parked. And, I lived at 4 Riverhurst Road. It was an apartment that I was living at before I bought a house, and I started my company there. I only had a couple of trucks, and to be honest with you, I was just keeping them there. I didn't have a shop then. I didn't have the money to rent a shop. And when I did grow and started renting the shop down at Cook Street, I don't have a mailbox there. I'm just a tenant at will. I just never bothered to change the address. Like I said, I'm not hiding anything. I park some of my trucks at 29 Cook Street, Billerica, and the rest of my trucks get parked at Everett Farmer Road, Billerica. You can write that down too if you'd like. Everett Farmer Road.
So you don't have like a construction, you don't have the yard right now, per se?
I rent, and as of right now, as far as the logs hitting the ground, I don't bring logs back to any of my shops. If you go to either of my 2 locations on Cook or Everett Farmer, you won't find chips on the ground or you won't find logs there. Let me rephrase that. At Everett Farmer, the owner of that property, he owns a landscape supply company. He sells mulch. So don't get, you know, that's not me if you want to go by and see it. I don't sell mulch. Wood chips and mulch are 2 different things. So like Community Tree Service, you can go there and physically fill up a pickup truck full of mulch. You know, pay $40 and get brown, black, whatever. We're not like a retail store. We don't sell anything at our location. We just leave. So, again, I'm sorry if I've gotten anyone flustered, you know?
Chair, I know it's late. My name's John McKenna, I'm an attorney for C.J. Martell, Crane Service. Just to summarize, they're here for a special permit for a contractor's yard. There's 10 vehicles, 2 of them are cranes, the rest are trucks. These vehicles aren't like a UPS service that go in and out of the things. They leave in the morning, they go to the job site, and they come back. This young man is very observant and respectful of the neighbors. He's not going to be a problem down there. He doesn't have clients going in and out of there, which is less impact for the neighbors. There's not a lot of vehicles. If it was a retail business, people going in and out. That's the impact for the neighborhood. He's respectful for the people. He's asking for a special permit. This property here, as was said earlier, it's the special permit. You have to weigh the benefit to the community. To go to the point of the taxes, I'm also the tax title director for the city of Lowell, land use attorney. Probably about $10,000 to $15,000 a year might be the taxes based upon the value of the property and based upon the tax rate in Chelmsford. That'd be probably about the amount as an estimate. Personal property tax, you can check with the treasurer, might have a better amount of the assessor. Well, what is the weight? And then as to what Katie was trying to say about the potential impact, this is one of the lower impacts you could have on the site. And then is it a value that, have a vacant site in an industrial area or to have a limited use? And that's what we're looking at today. He's here to make a proposal. He's here to buy the property if it gets approved. If it doesn't get approved, then he goes somewhere else. But we were up the street and we had a proposal there. We thought it, quite worked there. We was presented this proposal. We're here to apply for a special permit for a contractor's yard for the limited purpose if he does have to put a tree in there. He's being upfront here. He's not going to have a lot of trees there, but he might have the occasion where the trees have to be put there, so he wants the proper permitting to do it. We're talking about 10 vehicles, not 100 vehicles.
Okay.
There are 2 cranes that are there, they're not tractor trailers. But we respectfully request that you allow the permit. He's looking to start his business, store some vehicles here, and do it in a respectful and a nice way. Katie's done a nice job. You've done a nice job. And we request the board's approval of the application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want a motion to continue?
Or, I guess, or to close the public hearing?
We can close it or we can continue it.
Do a straw poll?
Is there items that we need from the applicant?
Yeah, exactly. What do we need
No,
from?
do we, for us to continue? Is there reasons why to continue it? Are we looking for additional information? Did we read the letter from the police department earlier? There was one written, sent, right?
I gave you a copy of an email exchange based upon Chris's inquiry. The original memo's it should be in the file, maybe?
Want to try to dig it out?
Yeah, if there was any new letters.
There was.
I have a question. I didn't understand. Was that it was referring to the new driveway?
So the original letter was referring to the location of the new the original driveway in the plans. The driveway has since moved.
Right. So what were they referring to in their police letter?
In the subsequent email, in the original letter, it was the
Right.
original location. In the subsequent email, he did say that the move of the driveway actually improved the sight lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know that I have anything particular. Well, wait a minute. What's it?
You may not have it.
Fire. I may not have it, but
It
yeah,
was in
I
an
think that
email
was
to-
that was the gist of it.
Yeah, but he did say the move of the driveway
Yeah.
did improve the sight
Improved it,
lines that he
okay.
was looking at.
Okay. I don't know that we are in need of any other pieces of information. I did not go to Cook Street, and I didn't know the address of Everett Farmer Road. So that's something I would personally love to do, and also hear the trucks start up and back up.
Go to community in the morning. Community runs a bigger operation.
Go to what?
Community
Yeah,
street,
bigger.
Yeah.
similar but bigger, maybe.
My concern with hearing the trucks outside of this location, the sound may be amplified by the hillside in that location, echoing off the hill.
Or deadened by that 6-foot fence that he's
Dissipating
putting
out,
up
yeah.
there.
Either way, it could be. That'd be my concern with hearing the truck outside of the potential location. I don't think it would give an accurate picture of what it might be in that location.
Well, one thing we could do is do a straw poll and see if there is a convincing preponderance of opinion one way or the other. And if so, then maybe we take a vote and dispense with it. And if not, then maybe we try to obtain more, a little more time.
Does
and
anybody else
thought.
need more information?
No.
I don't think I know.
Can I suggest that you go into the group home inside while they back the trucks up across the street from them?
No.
No? Okay.
And then I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
So what do we think about a straw poll? Does that seem like a?
No, we're closing the
I
hearing.
made a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now I make a motion to vote on this? Is that a motion, or?
I think we could go around the table.
Well,
Yeah,
what you would
let's go
probably do is make a motion either to grant or deny, probably to grant.
I would,
And
no,
then
then
vote
I
no.
would make a motion to deny.
Well, no, you have to make the motion to grant
And then you
in
vote
the
against it.
positive, and then you either
Yeah, I
vote
think that's how
for
you
it or
usually
vote
do it.
negative, but you have to make the motion in the positive.
Yeah, and then you can vote no.
Okay, well then,
Comes to the
Or
same thing.
not
So-
make the motion.
Can I just make a comment, so we can do it?
Sure.
Because Katie was all about the facts, and you, in my opinion, when you hear my vote, you'll understand, but the facts are very good, it's presented well, but on the 195, 104, you presented those. And let's just, it should be, the determination shall include consideration of each of the following. Social, economic, community needs, right? Which I have it doesn't address that. So each one of these we have to take in consideration, not just one or two, or it's all six of them to grant this. So I think that's, when we go through the facts, I think, and we've done it before on other jobs, you go against each one. So this one here, it's like 3 and 3. 3 you address, 3 you don't address. And you address, but it's not in the benefit of the neighborhood. So when you get to the facts and you'll get my vote, there'll be a reason why.
But the facts are that the neighborhood is IA.
The neighborhood you're sitting in, an RB across the street. So it's the character of the neighborhood.
I could have the IA neighborhood come to the next meeting.
You
and
can.
tell you it's not.
okay,
But
but we've closed the public.
So just on that note, your IA, your elevation's different. You picked a site that is in the elevation of the neighborhood, and you're not up with the IA district. You're lower than that site. So some of the things we have to take in consideration. So I was just trying to give you some facts without just giving an answer, so that you walk out here and understand why. So that's all I have to say. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, for $10,000 incremental value, which is what, I mean, Mr. Finance Director, what is that? That's about $3 savings on my tax?
Yeah, I mean, $7 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, like, if we're gonna go down, like, I just didn't hear, again, the value, when we look at this from a special permit, to your point, of how it offsets. It's just not the right spot for this. And, I do appreciate the business, and, I hope you do find the appropriate spot in town, but I just don't think this spot is the appropriate spot for it.
Okay, so, Paul, do you want to weigh in?
I think the biggest issue would be the sound, I guess. Traffic's not gonna be an issue. And he has taken measures to mediate that, with the fencing and trees. How many trees were you talking about? 100 trees?
Shrubs, 100 shrubs.
28 trees and 100 and something
That's
shrubs.
quite a bit for a buffer. So I'd be inclined to approve it. myself.
John?
For me, when I look at this for the special permit, the adverse effects outweigh the benefits to the town for me. So I would have to vote to deny.
Anita, you gave yours,
I get mine.
Are we giving our vote?
I guess.
Okay, then I'm deny. I
Deny.
mean, there's got to be a motion officially
I
approved.
thought we were doing a straw poll.
No, we closed the public hearing, and we're not doing, are we doing straw poll?
Well, we're discussing before the vote, right?
That was my intention, that we were discussing, and then we
Yeah.
would ask for a motion.
Right.
So people are giving their votes.
Well, you have to make a motion.
Well, he's saying this, he would.
I'm inclined
At
to.
this point, his inclination
Okay,
is
if you're doing a straw, I'm inclined to deny the project.
on the basis of,
Not meeting the criteria of the special permit under 195-103 on code.
Mike?
I find it very, very close. My concern is that denying this will relieve the problem for a year or two. And then somebody will come along with a use that's a lot more obnoxious and doesn't need a special permit. And at that point, we will have nothing to offer and no bargaining power. I probably lean against, but when the actual vote happens, I may change my mind.
One way or the other. So you're not going to give it right now until you vote?
Right.
Okay.
But I wanted to express my concern.
all right, Chris?
My concerns are around two of the criteria for special permits. I think traffic flow, the sightlines has been addressed, but to me, the safety is a concern. I was not aware that there was a bus stop right across the street until tonight. I think having those massive cranes coming down a hill to a stop sign right in front of a house is a little bit of a safety concern for me. If those brakes ever give way, that's going to be a disaster. I think that it's also not in the neighborhood character for me. To me, the neighborhood is not necessarily the zone it's in, but the surrounding structures and properties. And the surrounding properties include both IA and residential. And I think the way that property is configured, that noise from that property is going to reverberate and echo off of that hill. I think the headlights is going to be an issue. And it just is a weird corner where there's residential on two sides as opposed to a majority of the sides of IA. So while I really like the business and I like what the owner has brought to the town, I'm struggling because to me this is not the right location for that business. But I do want that business in town. So I'm inclined to vote against because of those two criteria. But
Okay, and I am, I would say, like Mike, very close. I like the business. I'd like the business to be in town. I'm not worried about the headlights because I think a compelling case has been made that there's not going to be much operation of the business during a time when lights are going to be a factor. The noise is certainly a concern to the neighbors, but I also worry, and I'm convinced that this is a relatively light use of the property compared to other possible uses of the property. So I share Mike's concern that we're going to end up with something worse and no room to negotiate in the absence of the request for a special permit. So I think if I had to pull the trigger tonight, I will say I would most likely be a no, but with a lot of misgivings. So, do you think we should vote?
Sure, let's vote.
Well, the motion's been made, so we have to vote.
So the,
It was not seconded.
it was not seconded. The
I thought
motion,
Mike seconded it.
no, we.
Now, there was some
doing a
argument
straw
about
poll.
what the
Oh,
motion
okay.
was. We can make it again.
Yeah. I do think I can make a motion to deny, but I'll make a motion to grant.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
No.
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 Yes,
No.
just because you voted no.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
5-2 against.
Now we have this.
That was awful close.
Yeah. And I'm uneasy about it.
I am too, but I figured you were half and half,
Got
I was
another
half and half,
derelict
you
property
voted.
for another 20 years.
No, I voted yes.
I heard all about it.
We could have both just abstained.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
You guys take it outside?
Yeah, but if you vote to abstain,
I didn't.
no, but if you do,
Yeah.
you leave us out to dry.
I need to what?
You leave the rest of the committee out to dry.
I know, that's why I don't like to do that.
No, it's
It's
either,
recording.
you know, no, I'm being positive.
No, he's right.
I don't care
He's
if the
right.
public
Okay.
hears.
Okay.
If someone abstains because they
Next,
can't make a
we're
decision,
on to new
leaving the
business.
rest of the board members out to
Do you
dry.
want to go back to the,
Oh, the
the-
endorsements?
Yes.
first one's 25 Wellman,
Yeah,
straight site
Sorry, I
plan
gotta go
approval, no
back.
special permits.
so let's,
So what are we doing here? I'm sorry.
It'll be never ending.
Evan,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? We need to, are we voting?
I can't hear you, what?
What is the ask on this? Sorry.
The ask is just to ratify. It's already been voted, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Couple special conditions related to revised plans, prior to endorsement, compliance with fire prevention letter, DPW letter, and then it's your boilerplate conditions. So just looking for a vote to ratify the decision. That essentially will allow the chair to sign on behalf of the board, and we'll be able to clock it in with the town clerk.
Okay, I move to,
Well, before
accept
we do that, the one request I would make, Evan,
Yep.
I don't think we have to do it for this one, but future ones, is something you did on one of the other ones that we're looking at today. I think it's very helpful to have the members of the board who are voting. You included it on one, but not the other two, I think, so.
Yep, I normally do that for special permit, but I can add that for this one.
It might be useful for,
Yep,
for the record.
okay.
okay.
So
So do I have a motion?
I move to approve it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on to 18 to 20 Chelmsford Street.
1820, just draw your attention to special condition number 3. That needs to be struck, I think, on your copy. I have struck that for you. That is not applicable. As you recall, there are no new parking spaces being proposed as part of this project.
Can you refresh me? They took out parking space number 9, was that the thing?
Yeah, one proposed space was removed from the original proposal.
Okay.
And Evan, the only thing I would request, same thing on this one, is you add the people who vote, who are
Yes, thank you.
eligible.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to accept
I'll second.
the draft as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And then finally, 264 Groton Road, the Newport Landing subdivision. I'll take a motion to ratify.
I did have a couple questions on this one. In the last meeting, we talked about the radius being reduced and a couple other things.
The curbing going halfway down.
Yeah, I didn't see the
Yeah,
curbing.
special condition, 1A. My notes indicated that it was bituminous curbing, not granite curbing, to be installed up to station 2+50, which is what the engineer provided. And then for layman's term, up to the T turnaround.
Okay.
And then special condition 1D speaks to the
I'm
reduction.
sorry, wait, it's not
Where's the
granite
granite
curbing?
curbing?
I thought it was granite
At
curbing.
the,
I
at
granted
the,
it for granite curb.
at the roadway,
No.
it has to be
No.
granite. All the way up?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, to halfway up.
Yeah, it was granite
Okay.
halfway up, that was
Then
my
at
recollection.
that point, it was gonna be like a
My
driveway.
confusion,
Yeah,
my
like
confusion.
to the, where the fire
T.
truck.
To the other,
Right.
when
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other driveway
yeah,
went up.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the reduction of the cul-de-sac is special condition 1D. Can be reduced down to 50 feet in order to relocate the proposed two-family on lot number 2 so that the rear corner closest to the power easement can be increased. The reduction to the cul-de-sac radius will result in the shifting of the proposed right-of-way and proposed duplex further away from the power easement.
The only thing I would recommend there is changing the word can to will or should.
Shall. Yep.
Shall.
Okay. And the board will see these revised plans prior to endorsement. You're required to, you'll see the revised
So
plans.
we won't endorse that one yet.
Not endorsing this.
No, they have to go back, make these revisions, and then they come back on a
Okay.
future agenda.
We'll take care of that next
On the
time.
the reduction of the radius, did you have up to 50 feet?
I had down to 50 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, reducing the radius down.
To 50 feet,
Well, they can go no
250 feet.
further.
by 50 feet.
No. They're at 62.
Oh, right.
They can go, what the board, I think, and the attorney agreed on 50 feet. The key was to remain zoning compliant with lot area and frontage. So I think it was estimated that 62 down to 50 would likely achieve the intended goal.
And move it off the right-of-way. The utility right-of-way.
We'd be shifting everything further away from the power easement.
Okay.
And then Evan, in F, was it only going to be 4 arborvitae's
So they-
added?
They had 8 on the plan.
Yeah.
With 4 on each side with a gap at the corner,
This is for
where that
the
pinch
gap.
point
Okay.
was. My notes indicated a total of 12, a single row, because when this house gets shifted further away, there won't be a pitch point there, and they'll be able to do a straight line of 12.
Yeah.
Do we want to just, instead of the number, in case they're too spread apart, do we want to just say a continuous line?
You can do that. The problem with a continuous line is, if that's the condition, then they'll plant them close together at planting, but that's not appropriate planting spacing, because they're mature.
Yeah.
So what will happen is they'll plant them just for compliance. The first couple of years,
Okay.
they'll look good, and then they'll compete with one another.
Okay, so the correct spacing would be 4 additional ones.
Yeah, I think they had them spaced like every 2 to 3 feet.
Okay.
Probably more.
Yeah, the arborvitae get big, yeah. But
And
at
then-
planting, they're probably,
And then do we want to mention that they should be planting them off of that easement line?
yeah, they have to be, they cannot be planted within the easement.
No, I know, but if they plant them too close to the easement line,
All right,
No,
what do you
we
want?
talked about is that
over.
Yep.
Yeah,
the electric company will chop them.
Yeah, and then
right,
kill
that
them.
was part of the whole
So what do you
thing.
want? How many feet away from the easement?
8, 6.
Like
No, that
4
takes up the whole.
4 to 6?
6, because
Something
I've
like
got
that.
arborvitae's,
Five.
I've got my
If the
four
spacing
arborvitae's.
is 4
It's
feet,
not 5.
4
And
feet,
then-
I think are
Yeah,
reasonable.
Sure.
Yeah,
Or,
All right, so 5 feet off power easement.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The rest of it are boilerplate conditions, primarily from DPW.
Okay,
Okay.
do we have a motion?
Do we approve this? Do we wait for the revision?
Are we, so we're gonna wait and see the
gonna-
revisions next
No,
week?
no, you're approving this.
All right.
And then.
Then I'll sign it next week after we.
Whenever they come in, they decide the timing on the final plans.
But what am I gonna sign? I'm not
No,
signing.
no, you're gonna be signing this decision.
But I didn't.
And then,
Okay,
and then
eventually.
at a future
Fine.
meeting, they'll come back with final plans, and the board will
Perfect.
have an agenda item vote
so
to
I'll make a
endorse.
A motion to approve this decision as updated per our discussion.
Yeah.
Or as
Second.
edited.
Aye.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Mike. Raisbeck.
In favor? Aye.
Aye.
I believe I need to abstain because I was ineligible to vote.
Okay.
Is that how it works?
Yeah,
yeah.
First, I was not a
Yeah.
member.
Yeah, I think this is 5 voting members: Walsh, Raisbeck, Connolly, McDougal, and Tenini.
Yep. Approved. Done.
5-0.
Okay.
Evan, that was actually why I asked you to add the names, because it was hard for me to remember
Understood.
which ones I voted
I'd
on.
like to make a
Yeah.
turn.
Okay,
Second.
and where are we on the agenda? Is that everything? Oh, town meeting debrief. I don't know, I kind of already said my little bit about that personally.
I did have a quick statement on that.
Okay.
Just because it's been on my mind since the night of town meeting. There's just 4 bullets here, and I jotted them down. So, lots of challenges over the last several years at town meeting. Last town meeting, at least for me, was a low point. I'm talking specifically for myself. Moving forward, I will be taking a step back from the zoning process. And I think that would allow the planning board to essentially take ownership of the zoning process moving forward. We can get into more details as to, what that means at a later meeting. But I'm not interested in putting myself in a similar position that I experienced at the last town meeting. And we'll leave it at that. I think it'll be a good exercise for the board to take ownership of zoning.
You'll still support us in that and assist us
I will
in
be
that,
there, I
but
will
you
be there
won't
in
be-
whatever capacity the board wants.
Okay. I mean, I think it's probably best if we initiate our own zoning articles and present them. I know personally, I'm not a legal scholar by any means, so, I certainly could use help if I'm gonna be involved in any presentations, and would welcome help from any place where it's coming from. But thank you for your hard work on that process and for coming forth with some good ideas, which.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I never thought those were my ideas. I thought it was more of a collaborative effort. It may not have been seen that way. But I think once the board takes a vote, I think that's how we should move forward.
Yeah, and I guess I would like to say that in the future, I would like, if we're not all in accord, that we try and work collaboratively to find a way to express the letter of the, I don't know, the spirit of the motion, or the article, so that we can all get on board. I think that as a board, if we work together, it will be more effective.
Agreed.
And hopefully we won't have any more resignations.
Yeah.
Okay, so then should we put on the agenda, like, I guess I don't know what the process is for,
Yeah, I'll initiate that process. We can't do any votes tonight.
right,
It's
of
not
course
on the
not.
agenda. I'll
course
see
not.
what I can do to initiate that process. If it needs to be officially on the agenda for the 14th, then we'll put it on.
Or if we need to go to the select board and have,
Yeah, there's a formal process to
Right.
to fill the vacancy.
Is it an appointment for, until the term ends? Is that how it works?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
it's an appointment until the next election?
When is
Until
this
that particular term.
Yeah, till that
When
term
does
ends.
Tim's end?
I
This
think it
is
may
the
be
last
next
year.
year.
Next
The
year.
end of this year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, him and I.
So it'll
we
be
worked
essentially a
together. Yeah, yeah.
one-year appointment.
We need 2 guys.
Yeah, we ran together, you, me, and him.
Yeah.
off the ticket.
And then, so you want to do a work session at 6:30 again?
What are we gonna discuss at that? Oh, the NEMCOG stuff?
NIMCOG is scheduled to come in at 8:15 to 9.
Okay, and let me also.
That's their only availability on the 14th.
Is that, do we have enough stuff that we still need to get to? How about we take a break from the work session?
Entirely up to you guys.
We might, and let me point out that I got an email from Pat today, and she was looking for people from various town committees to show up at something at the library on the 14th.
That was that Wednesday, the 14th?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, the 14th.
The night of our meeting?
Yeah. I told her, you know, I might be able to make the beginning of it. It was like, I don't know if it's 5 to 7 or something like that.
Oh, is that cocktail thing that they're doing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to entice more people into town governance.
Can we move our meeting? What do we have on the 14th? Can we move it so we can, like, I think it's a good idea that we should try to attend it.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I would like to.
I was gonna ask you what's on the agenda, because I have a conflict.
You have the continuation of 11 School Street. You have, we're gonna have to vote, we're gonna have to draft and vote and ratify the denial. And then, NIMCOG.
We could be voting on School Street though, right?
Yeah, I think you could vote on it. You may have to condition some of it, if the information doesn't all come back in time.
Well, I think the real question is how much other stuff do we have on? And I guess we probably don't completely know.
You don't have any new public hearings for the 14th, and I'm not aware of anything in the pipeline.
And what's the next meeting after that?
Would be, the
28th, I
28th.
Okay.
Can you do
No, I can be, I don't know about the 14th, but I'll let Deirdre know.
And we are really close to the getting the policy stuff done.
Yeah.
So how about if we do, can we do a work session starting at 7 and a meeting starting at 7:30?
Yeah, you should.
That works.
That way we can go to.
NEMCOG's pretty much
Maybe we can go
like
to
a
most of the other thing.
Yeah.
work.
Have a little bit of time
Yeah.
to do work session, maybe wrap that up, the policies, and then.
Well, at least the first half
the
that we
part that we've
covered
gotten
tonight.
to. Yeah, I mean, we're close to the end.
Yeah, there are only a few left.
And so will you put on the agenda that we can vote on what we can manage to agree on?
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, good.
And also that we will have a placeholder for the process of a seventh
Need be,
member.
right.
And I'll turn around those updates pretty quickly and get it out to everyone. And Evan, I'll enumerate which ones specifically we've agreed on and can vote on.
Okay, great.
Cool.
That way you can put it in the agenda.
All right.
I'll take a motion.
You got it.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor of adjourning?
Aye.